Well, as we've heard, while the mining boom is generating billions of dollars of revenue, its demand for labour across a range of sectors is creating a severe skill shortage. But with thousands of extra workers needed, temporary foreign workers are falling through the cracks of Australia's immigration and labour laws. The Fair Work Ombudsman is investigating claims of workers on multi-billion-dollar projects being paid less than $3 an hour. And unions suspect there are many more unreported cases, specifically abuses of the short-term 456 business visitor visa. Karen Barlow reports. The producer is Alison McClymont.
Out of work and in limbo, Dos Cordilla, Zenri Patiros and Roel Flores are waiting in the Philippines for a Fair Work Ombudsman's ruling on 18 months of work on Australia's northwest oil rigs.
It's a long-time job. It's a long hours job, 12 hours, starting from 6 in the morning until 6 in the evening. Same job.
They worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week as marine painters and general hands around a rig operated by the world's largest shipping company, Danish international Maersk, for Woodside Petroleum's $14 billion Pluto gas project. Next to fully paid Australian workers, they were earning a fifth of the minimum wage, less than $3 an hour.
We've been underpaid because our salary is only for $30 per day. They said the minimum wage in offshore was $400 plus allowance. They said only $30 is for only 1 hour for them.
The men were discovered in February by accident. After spending most of their time on the Maersk rig, the Nanhai 6, they were sent to another Maersk vessel, Discoverer, because of worker overcrowding. On the new rig, Australian workers questioned the men about their pay, and the Immigration Department and Fair Work Ombudsman were informed.
We've been investigating the matter, and the investigation is now at quite an advanced stage.
To say they're being ripped off is being a bit generous. Really, it was almost slave wages in terms of the Australian oil and gas industry. And the saddest thing about it is it's not like there's not a capacity to pay in the oil and gas industry at the moment.
The painters had come to Australia on short-stay 456 visas, which had been arranged for them through the Australian Embassy in the Philippines by a labour hire company called Supply Oilfield Services Incorporated, or SOS, based in this Manila building.
We don't know anything like the visa in Australia. All I know, if you get a visa going to Australia, when you step into Australia, if the immigrations stamped it when we go to Australia, that's fine.
But it wasn't fine. A 456 visa is not a work visa. It's a temporary business visitor visa where there is no obligation on the part of employers to pay the same rate as Australians doing the same job.
It's intended for genuine business people who intend to come to Australia for a very short visit to undertake business meetings and such like. In some instances, policy permits specialist workers in highly skilled areas.
The Filipino workers were subcontracted to a Perth-based labour hire company called SurveySpec. From there, the men were engaged by the Danish firm Maersk Drilling to work on a rig on the multi-billion-dollar Pluto gas project for Woodside Petroleum. Woodside Petroleum denies the men were involved in Woodside operations. Lateline has a copy of one of the men's contracts with SOS, showing them working 84 hours a week, earning $900 a month. Over 18 months, they worked for 35 days straight, and then they went back to the Philippines until another visa could be applied for. Maersk rejects any assertion that it remotely rips off any Australian-based workers. But Lateline has not been able to put any direct questions to Maersk's Managing Director, Martin Floygart, as numerous requests for an interview were declined. Lateline also had questions for the Manila agency SOS and the Perth-based SurveySpec, but they've not been available for comment. Unions say many of the workers coming in on 456 visas, longer-term 457 visas, or on working holiday programs are unaware of their rights and responsibilities.
What's going on here is a emergence of trafficking in ultra-cheap labour, which not only is exploiting those workers, but is causing a great risk to Australian rates of pay and indeed Australian standards of living.
The Australian Workers' Union says Dos Cordilla, Zenri Petiros, Roel Flores and another worker are collectively owed $400,000. The AWU claims Maersk had made an undertaking to pay the Filipino men back in early March and says they're still waiting to see the money.
It's a big deal. Affected us because I have a family to support. Then I lose my job because in this case, and just waiting for the back pay to get our, everyday expenses.
The Fair Work Ombudsman is investigating whether there's been breaches and whether legal action is needed.
It is a complex matter. It does require us to consider whether or not the vessel actually is within Australia's workplace relations jurisdiction, and clearly that is something which we are testing.
Following a similar case in 2008, the then Minister for Immigration, Chris Evans, tightened the laws to ensure that foreign workers were paid according to Australian wages and conditions.
Well, we had a near identical example of this same exploitation 2 to 3 years ago.
Immigration insiders say incredible demand for entry to Australia, both on a temporary and permanent basis, is straining the integrity of the system.
Oh, look, I think the whole system is totally and utterly overwhelmed. I would use the word in crisis. The Department of Immigration, I think, gets over 13,000 applications a day.
The Immigration Department says it can't comment on cases under official investigation, but it says all allegations of worker exploitation will be given close attention and investigated. The department also says the government is currently reviewing the sanctions regime for employers who employ illegal workers with a view to strengthen the penalties. Karen Barlow, Lateline.